Alright, greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome back to tonight's second half. Before we get into it, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and my merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. The links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below. My merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters Volume 1, 2, and 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe, click the like button, and please leave a comment. It really does help, and it matters. And now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with today's upload, shall we? Tonight's second half is a subscriber who, last time he shared an encounter, he shared a Dogman encounter he had while he was still in the Air Force at Whiteman Air Force Base. Tonight, he is going to be sharing his Yowie. Him and his son had a Yowie experience. So let's get into that. All right, everybody. Tonight I have a guest with us. His name is Greg. He was on the show a while back with a different encounter that he had when he lived stateside. He lives in Australia now and has for a while. Greg, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for taking some time out of your day to share with us.
Not a problem. I enjoy, not a big deal at all.
All right, awesome. Now, you had we call him Bigfoot over here, Sasquatch over here, but over in Australia, you guys call him the Yowie, but you still, being from America, call him Bigfoot. So you had a interesting encounter, not a visual, but still an encounter with a Bigfoot / Yowie. You want to share that with us?
Sure, not a problem.
All right.
Now, it happened a couple weeks ago. My son had to go out to a kayaking camp out in country Victoria here in Australia. We got there, and when we arrived, I went and to give blessings to the land. All I had was some popcorn, so I put out popcorn, for blessing for the land, and did a short prayer. Thank you for letting us use the land and the river. So it's that way. The land knows we're there. We don't mean any harm or anything, and we're giving thanks to the land and to the greater spirits and everything. And then my son and I, we went and laid down to go to sleep. Now, this location, I've sent it to Jeff, is out in the middle of nowhere. You have the Goulburn River that runs next to it, which is where my son was kayaking. Then you have a little set of, not lodges, but just a few little places that people can stay, but it's not that big. And then the rest of it is just countryside, and there's, they call them mountains here, but from where I'm from in the States, it'd be a good-sized hill. And that's got quite a bit of trees and stuff there. Well, my son and I, we went, laid down, went to sleep that night. We were sleeping in the car because we didn't have a tent with us, because all that stuff was going to show up the next day with the stuff from the school. Went, and because of what I used to do, I don't sleep well, and I began hearing what I just assumed was, just normal noises, but it was tree knocks about 2-ish, 3 in the morning. I was quite late. Didn't think anything about it. And the next morning, woke up, and we had been gifted with 2 rabbits that had had their necks broke. The popcorn where I put out was gone. I didn't see anything, and it was one of those, so stunned, I really didn't even think to look in the dew or anything for footprints or anything. I was just like, holy cow, what the? And my son, he gets up. Now, my son is only 13. He gets up as well, and he's looking at it. He goes, oh, wow. And he goes off, and he does his stuff for kayaking with school and all that. And throughout the rest of the weekend, we kept hearing wood knocks. And it sounded like they were, out in the distance. And my son was like, yeah, they're a ways out. They're not too far out, but they're a ways out. And then when we finally left to come home on Sunday, as we were leaving, my son turned and he looked at me as we were driving away, and he goes, Dad, he goes, do you think that was yowies that were out there doing the wood knocks and that gave us the rabbits? And I'm like, I hadn't thought about it that much. Oh, I had, but I hadn't. And I was like, yeah, that's probably what it was. Now, I've sent Jeff a photo of the Aboriginal singing sticks that my son made when he was in camp. Because when they were doing the wood knocks, it sounded very similar to the singing sticks. And it's one of those, one moment, I'll go do the singing sticks so that way you all can hear what it sounds like. One moment. Okay. This is what it sounded like. And when they were doing the wood knocks, you would get the reverberation, and you could hear it as well. It was one of the most interesting and, non-confrontational. I didn't have any sort of bad feelings or feelings of hostile or malcontent or anything. It was one of those, to me, it was just they were sort of signing that, yeah, they're there, they're in the area, but they were happy, we gave something and they've accepted and they gifted us back these 2 rabbits. And that's my experience. I mean, it was nothing too big, nothing out of the ordinary. It was just something, it happened. My son sat there and he was like, afterwards when he realized what it was as well, he was like, oh, wow, that was cool. But, yeah, it's one of those, like I said, didn't see anything, didn't think to look for footprints or anything because I was there to help my son with his kayaking and wasn't sitting there expecting to have a run-in with something that you don't, that you're not expecting. I was expecting the worst thing to have a run-in with was maybe a platypus or snakes or something like that. But yeah, it was one of those, a very interesting experience.
Yeah, most definitely. How far, you were in the woods by the river, how far out in the woods would you say? Was it dense woods, or can you kind of give us a brief kind of layout of how the woods were?
Well, I had, on one side of me, I had the Goulburn River, and you had gum trees and you had pines. Gum trees, they can get quite large, but they're like a medium density wood, sort of like a maple for type tree, sort of. And then across the road where the mountains are at, you had quite a bit of, they call it rainforest. You had a lot of ferns and stuff and trees, the gum trees, and you have some pines and stuff, and you have a lot of ferns that's there. And it was relatively dense, but then you also had a lot of, along by where the road is at, open farmland where, they farm corn and whatever else they farm in that area, because I don't get to go out that way because it's about 4 hours from where I live, so I don't go up there very often. But you have farmland there. The houses are very, very spaced out. You might have a house every mile or every 2 miles. One thing I do remember also was when I turned on the road where it was at, I remember there was a sign for a trout farm, if I remember correctly. I don't know, I think it was a trout farm that was down the same road as where we were staying at. But it was a few more kilometers down the road from where we were at.
Okay. All right. Now, one thing that you did point out is when you should, let everyone hear how the singing sticks were, is they are also made out of the gum tree.
Correct.
Yeah. Yep. Now, how is your son? Was he did he just kind of brush it off as well? When you guys heard them, or did he not hear them as much as you did?
This was a lot mainly at night.
Okay.
He heard them He heard them more than I thought he heard them.
Okay.
But he being 13 and me with my background that it is, he decided that if Dad's not worried and scared and pulling out his machete and going into go-to-war mode, as he calls it, that it's something to not be worried about, and it's probably just some local animal that's out there or the local, country noises that he's not used to. So it's one of those, he did hear it, but he didn't get worried because I didn't get worried.
Right.
If I would have began, getting worried and going, oh no, something's not right, let's get ready, begin getting all of our gear packed up and go on edge and everything, then it would have probably scared him. But because I kept cool and went, you know what? When they gifted the 2 rabbits to us, it was 20, 30 feet from the car we were sleeping in. So it's one of those, with me, where I don't sleep much and I sleep very light, for them to have gotten that close and me to have not heard them, that says something, because I have numerous years in the military and then working for the military as a contractor, to where my body instantly, if something's not quite right, it goes silent or something, I'm wide awake. And for them to get that close and for me to not wake up or get there's something wrong or bad juju feeling, it says something about the encounter. To me, it was they accepted, the offering that I put out, and they gifted us the rabbit. It sort of as, I don't want to say as a sign of peace, but, as a sign of more or less understanding. It's yes, we understand you're going to be here for a little bit. You're not here to harm us. You're not here looking for us. You're down on the river with your son while he's doing his kayaking and stuff. You're not pulling out all the cryptozoology stuff and have a dozen people traipsing through the forest looking for us. So we're going to give you these rabbits in return, as long as you more or less, because we know you're going to leave us alone. If that makes sense. So, but do you have anything else, Jeff, or any other questions?
No. I really enjoyed you hear so many encounters with Sasquatch, and there's so many different perspectives, and like you just said with that, you gifted the land, they gifted back, they kind of knew that you weren't there to cause any harm, and they did the same. And I think it's very interesting how the Sasquatch or Yahweh in Australia has almost the same disposition as it does here. I mean, yeah, we have had encounters with Sasquatch that are, some violent, some not so violent, but if you're just doing and going along your own business and, just kind of going about your day, I think it's very cool. And your son knowing that it was a wood knock is definitely awesome as well.
Yeah, because it was one of those, when he told me that, I sat there and I was like, I just looked at him, I was like, how in the world did you know about that? And he looked at me and he goes, Dad, I listen to YouTube also. I'm not one of these kids that doesn't know about stuff.
Right.
And I'm like, okay. So yeah, it's one of those, surprises me all the time. Stuff that people know that they don't either, that they don't want, they either don't say, or that they just sort of, they keep their mouth shut about it and just go, oh yeah, I had an encounter with this, or I had an encounter with that, and you're just like, oh, okay, cool. Well, tell me about it. Oh, no, nothing.
Right.
So.
Right. And like Greg said, he sent me a picture of the singing sticks. That will be the picture that is present during the video. And that was the wood knocking that you heard together. His are about 6 inches. You said the Aboriginals are what, 2 feet, you said?
They can be up to 2 feet. They would use them for like long distance communication. Sometimes for like early warning communication. If the tribe was at war with another tribe or something, an early warning or some sort of communication device that would travel, because as loud as those are, and the ones that I just did, they're only 6 inches long. And some of the ones that the Aboriginals would use out in the forests and stuff, they could be, they call it, here they say it's about 2 meters, which is approximately 6 feet. So you can imagine the sound with the reverberation off of something like that if what you just heard was 6 inches.
Yeah. I mean, definitely going to travel through echo and, definitely interesting. Very cool. I just found it interesting because I'd never heard of, when you were telling me the story and you said singing sticks, I was like, that's cool. What's a singing stick?
Yeah, it's one of those. I've been here in Australia for over a decade, and I'm still learning stuff about here because I've just recently retired from what I used to do, so I can have more family time and everything. And now that I'm actually getting to do that, it's a learning more stuff, learning new stuff all the time and all that. And it's very interesting.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, I appreciate you sharing the encounter with us. And like I said, and I've said it a million times, about encounters, is it really honestly doesn't matter to me or to a lot of people, like, if it's, just because you heard wood knocking, I think that's just as fascinating as getting a stone hucked at you by a Sasquatch or seeing one, because it's still proof of their existence. It's still an interaction. So to me, it's a great encounter. So I appreciate that. And to have them gift you back is kind of nutty as well. I mean, just definitely cool. So I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Not a problem at all. My pleasure.
Is there anything that you'd like to say before we end the interview?
Well, what I like to say is, just because if you're out somewhere, just because you don't see them doesn't mean that you're not being watched. Doesn't mean that they're evil or they're out for malice or anything. Because I think part of the time, at least, they're just as inquiring about what in the world we're doing as what we are with what they're doing. But as Jeff said a moment ago, yes, you have some. They seem to be sort of like humans. You have some that are inquisitive and all that. You have some that are highly aggressive, and you have others that just don't bother me, and I'm not going to bother you. So it's a matter of, I think, a lot of times it's a matter of more or less luck of the draw on what sort of encounter you get by what the mood and what type of cryptid with their attitude is.
Absolutely. I agree 100% with you. I really do. Well, Greg, it was great having you on. It was good talking to you again, and I appreciate it.
Not a problem. Thank you for having me back.
Thank you for coming back. Have a great night.
You as well. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed tonight's second half. I have been having mic issues, and I have a very nice AKG condenser mic, and I have a Blue Yeti USB mic. The condenser mic's about a $500 mic. The Yeti is about $175. I've messed with both of them to figure out what's going on, and I can't figure it out. So today I went and bought some new mic. I bought a new mic and a couple other things. It'll be here on Friday, which I probably will be using it on Saturday. So I apologize for the mic quality as of right now. It will get better. I have no idea what's going on with it. It's absolutely driving me bonkers. I actually just bought new software and can't figure it out. So hopefully it's just the mic, or both my mics, because they're about 3 to 4 years old. So I don't know. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. With that, may the Great Spirit watch over us all, and may He guide us down that path that we call life.